Flawedcast. Flawedcast! Get in the arena.
And with that, we want to welcome you to another fun-filled episode of Flawedcast. As always, I'm here with my wonderfully bearded friend, Jason.
Hello, this is Jason, and I'm here with my wonderful, less bearded friend, Will of the Will Factor. If you guys have never seen the Will Factor, you should YouTube it. It's pretty amazing.
It is pretty something. So, want to thank everyone for all the support, the subscribes, the likes, the shares. Email us at flawedinkcle@gmail.com. Looking for some ideas, looking for some suggestions. If we pick one of your suggestions, you will be on our show. We have actually received a lot of feedback from the last episode we did about love and spirituality and things like that. So that was really encouraging.
All you need is love. Love is all you need.
And we appreciate that. Appreciate the love, the kindness, and everything. Anyway, we're on YouTube, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify.
You're on your headphones right now if you're listening to us. That's where we're at.
Well, they could be on their car speakers.
We're on your car speakers right now.
On their stereo speakers.
We're on your stereo as well.
Or just through their mobile device.
Or just your mobile device. That's where we're at.
Our voices are reverberating in your head.
They are. And I'm a little fired up today. It is Saturday. It is Saturday. I woke up early. My wife brought a coffee, and I'm a little wired, to be quite honest with you, man. This was I won't say the brand, but it's one of those places you stop and get a coffee and you pay a lot of money for it. The Green Straw.
No name because there's no sponsorship.
No sponsorship.
They throw some cash our way.
That's right. Absolutely, because I mean that's what we're about.
Right.
We only do this for the millions that we're making off of it.
Or the mills.
Yeah, the mills.
Put on the shank. See what I did there?
That was pretty good, though. We do like units of measurement, if you haven't noticed. We've talked about mils in the past. Scores.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what a score is?
It's 20 years.
20 years?
Yeah.
I thought that was a double decade, like a double deuce.
Or, well, a double deuce to me is something completely different.
That was a roadhouse.
The double deuce? Yeah, that's a St. Swayze.
The St. Swayze knock.
St. Elliot walks up to the front doors of the double deuce, and he walks into the back and sees St. Swayze having his ass handed to him.
Yeah, and then he just, kicks everyone's ass.
He does what he has to do. He does what he does.
I like Sam Elliott. So is my mom. It's like her favorite guy.
It's hard not to like him.
It is. He's kind of the manly man.
Yeah, one of the few. They're the few that are still roaming.
I feel like we're way off topic right now.
We're really, really off topic. But anyway, so please subscribe. Please share us. We've had some people get recommended to us from their friends. We appreciate that. That's how we grow, and we really are wanting to get in front of a larger audience, and I'm not afraid to say that we can't do that unless you help, and we're asking for your help. So please make sure you share, make sure you like, comment. We're trying to post stuff all the time, some provocative things, but also some things primarily to make you think, because we ultimately want you to get in the arena with us.
Get in the arena.
All right, so this episode, there is some timing issues in regards to some of the things we're going to be talking about, but a lot of these issues were brought up from conversations I've had with people, and I know you've had with people over the holidays. Primarily the notion that this can't happen in America. Those are the kind of conversations we've had. We have a runaway rogue Congress. We have a coup happening in our country against a duly elected president. Think of him what you will. The citizenry is being infringed upon, and you understand what happens across the world in these coups in different countries, Central America, the Middle East, some far regions of Asia and things like that. But you think, it can never happen here. We can never lose our rights. It'll never happen in America. And it's happening. So we have a couple things that we want to bring to your attention. Some articles in the mainstream. We're going to start at the national level. Then we're going to break it down to the state level. Then we're going to break it down to even like the local level, just to see that people don't necessarily have to alter the letter of the law in order to sidestep what the Constitution is and what our God-given rights are, what the natural rights are that we discuss a lot.
Yeah, as we get into this, know that when we say get in the arena, this episode is right down our alley. We want you to know what's going on out there. As Bill said, there's a whole lot of, it can happen here, and we just kind of pay attention to what's going on in the little world that we live in, meaning
our little bubbles,
our community, our family, and that stuff's extremely important. but what's happening in our country on a much larger level is impacting and will continue to impact, especially in the future, what happens inside that little bubble.
Sure.
And it's time for us as a country to start voicing how we feel and making sure that our government realizes that we know what's going on and we're not going to go blindly as sheeple down the path that they're taking us, because it's absolutely out of control. And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely. And we will not go quietly into that good night. But the name of this episode is called I Have Not Yet Begun to Fight. One of the things that we like to do is to bring some historical context. Like, the primary focus is education. Can't get in the arena unless you realize there is a purpose to get in the arena. And then one of the things that we at this point can use to arm ourselves is knowledge. It's history. It's understanding of how things are. And, you know, what you just said, Jason, was so eloquently spoken, because the macro always eventually ends up infecting, in this case, infecting, but affecting the micro things of our life. And this is exactly what we're talking about. So, Captain John Paul Jones was a U.S. Navy captain during the Revolutionary War. And he's famous for his quote, I have not yet begun to fight. But Jason, go ahead and give us some historical context about what happened and the audacity of this man who I absolutely love. And his spirit here is something I think we want to harness and use towards this episode.
Okay, yeah, so this quote we're talking about comes from Battle of Flamborough Head. It's basically a response that Captain John Paul Jones gives to Captain Richard Pearson of the Royal Navy, as Captain Richard Pearson asked as to whether he was surrendering his ship. Captain Jones replied, I have not yet begun to fight. We've all seen it in the movies or whatever, where someone's getting bounced around a little bit, right? Their will to win, their will to not give up, to never quit. That's really what this is about. This is Captain John Paul Jones saying, if you think you got the best of me now, you don't even know the half of it. We're just getting going, buddy.
Yeah, and
you got to bring a lot more than that.
Yeah, and his ship was going down, and they were trying to give him quarter, and he's like, I'm not going to take your quarter. No quarter given, no quarter accepted. And when he said, I'm not begun to fight, it was a gentlemanly way of a middle finger saying no.
I don't surrender to your ass.
Exactly. Well, to paraphrase William Wallace in Braveheart, which is a very historically inaccurate film, yet it does still get me riled up. You can take our life, but you will not take our freedom.
One of the reasons I'm doing this podcast, one of the reasons I decided to get into the arena, is because I needed something to help me look at the bigger picture. I was really focused just on the day-to-day, and I was that person saying, it'll never happen here. Well, I got to be honest with you, the thing that really opened my eyes and started me down this path was the bailout several years ago.
Right.
And
which we talked about last episode, about socialism.
And just how the hell can we allow that to happen? Like, this is so corrupt and so out of control now. And I got more and more interested, but still never did anything about it. So anyway, that's when Bill and I were talking and decided to do this. It's one of the reasons I do this, and I hope it's one of the reasons you listen. Get in the arena. Don't let this stuff go by, man. Get on board. Don't be a sheeple.
And one of the great things, honestly, about what we're doing are the news sources like I listen to or I get a lot from. It's not about the bottom dollar. It's about, we aren't profiting other than our lives could be in peril if we as sheeple, if we don't stand up and report to our elected officials who we are their employers that, no, this is wrong. I don't like this. One of the things I want to maybe consider having is Dave Joyce, our local representative, on, because he has not been very vocal about this impeachment from what I've seen on his Facebook page I follow. He's like, what do you think should happen? And to me, that was a half measure.
Right. He wants to know which way he should go.
Which side of the bread should he butter? Right. And I hope someone would share this with him as a voter in your district. I am very displeased at that. I feel it's a half measure, and I feel it's cowardice, and I would love to invite you on our show and discuss these things, amongst others. But nonetheless, so once again, Jason had an excellent point, and where we're going to go with this is, a couple different articles. We're going to start at the national level, then we're going to go to a state level, then we're going to go to a local level. These are all reputable, quote-unquote, reputable mainstream organizations. And Jason, I want to go ahead and read the first article, and this is about a recent Supreme Court ruling that a lot of people don't really know. And just before we go any further, all the links to these articles will be in the bio. As in the last several episodes, I put all the links to the bio and all the articles that we've used. So when you are listening to this, go to the bios, pull up these links, and see like, oh yeah, that is Forbes.com or that's CBS.com or New York Times or whatever. These are quote unquote reputable news organizations. So Jason, go ahead and if you could just read what we got there.
This is from Forbes.com, and Supreme Court allows families of Sandy Hook victims to sue gun manufacturer. Today, the United States Supreme Court delivered a significant blow to the gun industry. It let stand a decision of the Connecticut Supreme Court that allows families of the victims of the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting to sue the manufacturer and distributor of the gun used by the perpetrator, Adam Lanza. The manufacturer, Bushmaster, which is owned by Remington. So, I mean, think about that for a second. Adam Lanza, who I just hate even putting his name out there, it's despicable. He grabs a gun and kills a bunch of people, and it's the gun's fault. It's the manufacturer of the gun. What Supreme Court's saying, in my opinion, is they obviously manufactured that rifle to kill children. And I'm going to have to disagree with that. I'm having a hard time with this.
It's absurd, and quite frankly, it sets a really bad precedence. For example, going back to the impeachment, because what is going to happen is, let's just say for the sake of argument, Jason's one of my best friends. I love him like a brother. There's nothing I wouldn't do for him. So this is just a completely hypothetical thing. Let's say for the sake of argument, you and I get in a confrontation, and you beat me to death with a Louisville Slugger. Obviously, that's a bat intended for a child's game, baseball. But the intention, the purpose which it was created, was not the usage of that item at the moment. Based on this precedence, basically what that means is that my family or whomever on my behalf can sue Louisville Slugger, right, for you killing me.
I want to ask a question.
Ask away, my friend.
If someone gets drunk and hits a car full of people and kills them all, and they were drinking Budweiser, can they sue Anheuser-Busch?
Under this ruling, I would say possibly not only could they sue Budweiser or Anheuser-Busch, but they could probably sue the Chevy pickup that you were driving, and they could probably sue Cheers Bar that you were drinking at for serving, and they could probably sue Michelin because the Chevy truck that you were driving was on Michelin tires.
Because it has to be. Why is it that we allow this to happen? That we allow the actual responsibility of someone's actions to be laid upon other folks? I'm having a hard time with this.
2 words: victim culture. Right? So the story with this Sandy Hook, and there's been a lot of controversy, I'm not even going to address it here, but the story is Adam Lanza, his mother, had these weapons. So just for home defense, right? Just like any average John Q. public may have a Remington, rifle to defend their home with, or maybe they hunt, or maybe they enjoyed shooting trap. Whatever the case may be, it is not unlawful for that person to have that. Adam Lanza stole these weapons from his mother and then perpetrated heinous evil against these victims of Sandy Hook. Now, the dangerous thing about this that we have to keep in mind, and once again, let's go back to the idea that over the holidays, I know you and I have had numerous conversations with people, that can't happen in America. You're absolutely wrong. Because they don't, and I'm going to quote Rage Against the Machine in their song Bulls on Parade, they don't have to burn a book, they just remove it, right? So what does that mean? You don't have to completely destroy that book, you just subvert the idea. So they don't have
to go to the source.
Exactly. So no. They don't have to change the Second Amendment. They don't have to. Right. They don't have to make one period erased. What they have to do is take out one of the largest gun manufacturers in the world, Remington. And if Remington goes out of business, that means it's going to be difficult for people, because that's what's going to happen with this. That's the inevitable result. Remington very likely is going to go out of business. They're going to lose their organization that's been in a staple of Americana for generations and generations and generations. But they're going to lose their business because of this ruling, because of one selfish, evil person's decision. Now, the thing about that is, to some of the friends, and I love dearly, they're not going to change the Second Amendment. They're just going to make it completely impossible for you to purchase a weapon.
Right, that's what I'm saying. They're going to go, when I say go to the source, they're going to find a way to eliminate the gun manufacturers so that there can't be guns manufactured. Then you don't got to worry about it. And that's makes me absolutely sick to my stomach. And when you look at this isn't, they're basically, what I'm hearing them say here in this ruling is putting gun manufacturers on the same level as illegal drug manufacturers, right? So basically, if you make crystal meth and someone dies from your crystal meth, you could be sued, tried, go to prison, all that. And they're basically saying, well, same thing here with guns. I mean, but no, it's not the same thing. Crystal meth is illegal.
Well, I would, the comparison I would make it to is kind of like La Cosa Nostra, right? The mob. So, for example, let's just say some mob boss puts out a hit for Frankie Knuckles or something, right? I don't know, whatever. So it may not necessarily be that mob boss that is actually pulling the trigger or stabbing or whatever the case may be. It's a line of culpability.
Right.
So, however, in this case, Remington actually, their hands are clean. They did nothing but, like you own your own business. The people at Remington, they own their own business, and their business is to make firearms for civilians, but they also supply, the military. They are one of the largest manufacturers of firearms in America. Now, think what you will, but the reality of it is like this is penalizing a company, a private organization that employs people, that has pensions, that has salaries, that have people that support them to make the goods that people utilize. That's going to go out of business. And not only it's a traditional thing as well. It's like I said, Remington, Winchester. These are names that are synonymous with rugged individualism that we always talk about, like with Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, as you said, it's an indirect attack. Second Amendment.
Sure, it's subversive, and it's just setting a bad precedence.
To attack a business that did nothing wrong. I do not care what they sell or produce. Okay, they did nothing wrong.
Well,
nothing wrong at all, and they can be sued because of something they made. I mean, think about that. We just want to point blame, and we, like you said, you know what this reminds me of? You said it great, Bill. You said the victim mentality,
the victim culture,
victim culture. So, I mean, think about it. That is the shift that we've made. We want to put accountability and responsibility anywhere except for on where it belongs, because it's too close to home when we look at where it belongs. Mm-hmm. It's too close to home that the real issue isn't gun control, isn't the manufacturing guns, it's mental illness. But hey, let's don't look at it. That couldn't be. And we put everyone on medication that they don't freaking need. And all this other crazy shit that we do in society today. That couldn't be that, because that's all big business. It couldn't be that.
Yeah.
Well, it couldn't be that. It's got to be someone else's fault.
Right. Well, the funny thing is, even you can look at, and we're really getting off subject with this, but you can even look at these mass shooters, and they're on these particular kind of drugs that influences people to, I don't know, I'm not a medical expert, but it's a commonality between all these people that are on these type of drugs, and that's when they perpetrate these things. Now, you can't sue drug manufacturers because they are a protected class.
Well, it's definitely not the drug manufacturer's fault, Bill.
No,
it can't be.
Yeah.
It can't be. It has to be the gun manufacturer's fault, not the drug manufacturer.
Well, the two things,
seeing how one actually changes your mental capacity and the other one doesn't. Seeing how one is an inanimate object that literally can't do anything if it's sitting in the corner by itself. You can't swallow it and take it. It can't change who you are, but the other one can. I don't know.
No. I get you. But for me, the two things are A, the victim culture, but B, more subversively and more heinously and more evil is the absolute subversion of the Second Amendment. So once again, they don't have to burn a book, they just remove it, right? They don't have to change the Constitution, they just make it so you can't purchase these particular items.
Yeah, that's a great segue. Let's just move down into the state and continue to show how this moves. I know it's almost like we've been putting this one off because this one really ridiculous.
This really creases me. Go ahead, Jason. I can't read this right now.
All right, so this is from dailywire.com. Virginia Democrats filing proposals to begin confiscation of lawfully owned firearms. Second Amendment reporter says. The legislative action comes after leftist Virginia Democrat Governor Ralph Northam announced at the beginning of last month that Democrats will at least start their attempts to restrict Virginia's constitutional rights by banning the sale of semi-automatic firearms and high-capacity magazines, restoring the law that limits purchases to one gun a month, and a red flag law that would empower a court to temporarily remove a gun from a person deemed to be a risk to himself or others, the Washington Post reported. When Northam was asked about confiscating firearms from law-abiding citizens, the governor responded, "That's something I'm working on with our Secretary of Public Safety."
Let's go ahead and go right to the next one because it segues once again to Virginia.
Yeah, which is right. Anyway. Proposed Virginia law would outlaw Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, Tai Chi, firearms instruction, and self-defense training. So this is Infowars.com. You can actually, again, the link's going to be there. This is right from Virginia Legiscon.
Yeah, maybe just to set this one up a little bit. So on January 8th, and I'm not sure when this episode will be released. It originally intended it to be released far in advance of January 8th, but January 8th, 2020, the Virginia legislation are going to vote on Senate Bill 64. Jason, go ahead and read Senate Bill 64. And once again, I will say this, you can think what you want of Infowars.com, but what Jason is about to read to you is I took this directly from the state of Virginia's website, and I will put a link
to.
Yes, put the link. And this is what the legislation itself states. Go ahead.
So specifically, the law says that a person is guilty of unlawful paramilitary activity, which is a Class 5 felony, if that person assembles with one or more persons, one or more, that means just by themselves, assembles with one or more persons for the purpose of training with, practicing with, or being instructed in the use of any firearm, explosive, incendiary device, or technique capable of causing injury or death to persons. The phrase, technique capable of causing injury or death to persons, covers all form of martial arts and self-defense training, including Krav Maga, BJJ, boxing, and other contact martial arts such as Taekwondo or Tai Chi. Under the proposed law, all forms of self-defense training, including hand-to-hand martial arts training, would be considered paramilitary activity, even if the training consists of private classes involving just one instructor and one student. That's because every form of martial arts training imparts skills which could be used to cause injury to other persons. In fact, according to the language of the law, just one person learning such arts is a felony crime, which means that watching a DVD on Krav Maga would be a felony crime.
So, I have so much to say about this.
Oh. And don't tell me, it's just poorly written. Bullshit.
Well, no, it's expertly written.
Yes.
So I'm going to just unpack a couple of different things about Northam. Northam is he's the governor who he has a nice southern voice, and he's the gentleman who came to some national attention when he was talking about post-birth abortion. Now you get the baby, you keep the baby comfortable, and then the doctor and the parent can decide what they're going to do. Northam has post-birth abortion. Right.
Right next to that in the dictionary it says murder. Anyway.
Exactly. See, if they can control language, and it was very interesting that you pointed that out because that was one of the things I was talking about. One or more people. So literally, you're right. Say I'm watching I'm reading a book or I'm watching a Blu-ray or something, trying to teach myself Krav Maga. That's a Class 5 felony. A felony in the state of Virginia. Now, what is really egregious to me is I was listening to a gentleman who lives in Virginia, and he teaches Krav Maga as his profession. And what he does specifically is he teaches Krav Maga to women in self-defense situations so that they can avoid being raped, kidnapped, murdered, mangled, robbed. My question is, where's the Me Too movement with this? Where's the feminist screaming out that here's a gentleman whose sole occupation is the equipping, training, and ultimately safety and protection of women? Yet, if on January 8th this bill passes, this man's going to be a felon. Once again, you don't have to burn a book, you just remove it. I want to point out that once again, to my friends, my loved ones, my acquaintances, my foes and my friends, not only can it happen in America, it is happening.
It's happening right here. And man, when you start taking away rights to protect yourself and defend yourself, let me tell you what happens.
I'm sorry. I'm going to
look at some history, folks.
Right. Well, I'm going to interrupt you. It's not taking it away. It is punishing. It is. You and I took your son, about a month or two ago, to the range to teach him how to shoot.
Right.
We committed, if we were in Virginia and if it was after January 8th that this bill passes, you and I committed a felony.
Well, if I go to the range by myself to practice shooting, I'm committing a felony. Therefore, the ranges are closed.
They're shutting, so it goes back to that Supreme Court ruling. They're shutting down a complete industry, right? Because not only can you not have a manufacturer of a gun, but you can't even have a person, organization, a company distributing the guns. In the state of Virginia.
Ammo, firing ranges, nothing. I mean, it's...
Right. But so let me ask you this, though, Jason. So wrestling, we wrestled in high school. Does that mean that high school wrestling coaches are now going to be felons? Does that... Football, there's more injuries that occur in football than almost any other sport. Does that mean that high school football coaches are going to be felons? Let me ask you this. In track and field, a shot put, a javelin. Javelin's a spear.
Yeah, but let me throw this out real quick.
No, but
I hear what you're getting at, so I want to talk about that for a second, okay, Bill? So as you're saying this, I know there's people listening going, oh, that's not what they meant by the law. Well, that's exactly why they wrote it that way, because that's what they want you to think and say. Then they can turn it when they're ready, because they may even say, oh, no, that's not what we mean by it. You know, just trust us. We won't ever use it that way. Have we ever heard that before? Because that's what people are thinking right now. No, that's not how they meant it. Well, they mean it however they want to interpret it. However the Supreme Court, basically, or all the courts before it gets there, wants to interpret it. So if they want to do something, they can do it. If they want to interpret it a certain way, they can interpret it that way. And listen, by the time it gets to the Supreme Court, even if Supreme Court overruled it and turned it the other way,
the damage is done.
The damage is done. We're possibly decades, at least years down the road. People are destroyed. Laws are destroyed. And don't think that if they do this in Virginia, it's not going to catch on and some other crazy asses are going to do it, try to do this in other states.
I'm going to share this with you. You don't know this, okay? And I'm stating this specifically. You need to hear what I'm about to say. We are nonviolent. Neither of us are calling for any kind of a violent act. We still have the First Amendment where you can, not only do you have the freedom of speech, but you also have the freedom and the right to petition your government with any grievances. We discussed this in episode 5 and 6. Please go back and listen. Shameless plug. I've been listening to a lot of different news sources. One guy's name is Mike Adams, naturalnews.com. Check him out. He's great. He's a scientist, but he was also ex-former Navy SEAL. Another gentleman is named Steve Pieczenik. He's a #1 best-selling author. Tom Clancy, he wrote all these Jack Ryan novels. He is based on Steve Pieczenik. They were discussing a lot about Virginia, about the situation. Now, this is what you don't know. I was having a cigar the other night at our cigar spot. I was just enjoying my Oscar Leaf Curadro, and behind me, a gentleman was talking about his love of cigars and matching it with a nice bourbon, which caught my ear, as you and I do often. And this gentleman said, where I come from, I can't even have a beer and a cigar in public. And it caught my ear. I'm like, what communist state does this guy live in, right? And, he goes, I live in Virginia, things are just going crazy. At that point, knowing what we were going to be discussing, I was hooked. So I turned around and said, you live in Virginia? He goes, yeah. I go, Senate Bill 64, you know anything about that? And the guy exploded. He goes, let me tell you about Northam. He's a blah, 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 blah. And he goes, SB 64 is such a turning point in our state. He goes, everybody I know is an avid supporter of the Second Amendment. He said, everywhere but the Capitol is red. He said, the Capitol is blue. He goes, I am deathly afraid of this thing going kinetic. That is the same thing that Mike Adams, naturalnews.com, that is the same thing that Steve Pieczenik said. And when I say kinetic, what that means is if you try to infringe on the Second Amendment, things very, very possibly could turn bad. I don't say this with hubris. I don't say this to sound pretentious. I say this because the Second Amendment in America is sacred. It is sacred. And this gentleman put the fear of God into me. What I heard this guy say, and I'm not going to get into it, there are a lot of unhappy people in Virginia that are facing a very strong possibility of not just their livelihood, not just their profession, but their freedoms to be revoked. Northam is not a good man. If you don't know anything about him, I suggest you do some research. A little bit of pedophilia going on there, but that whole keep the baby comfortable. I mean, that's just damn disturbing. But folks, what we're talking about, what we're bringing to light is not necessarily this can't happen. That's not going to pass. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Even to have it to be voted on? Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
To get in the arena, folks, we got to stop this stuff from happening.
We have to.
Across the country.
Once again, this gentleman in Virginia I spoke to, he shared a lot of things. Some of those things, I won't go into great detail, but random cars being stopped, if they have an NRA sticker on their tailgate, if they have any kind of pro-America. He says he's had friends. He and himself have been stopped because they are avid NRA supporters. This is America, folks. This isn't Nazi Germany. This isn't USSR. We don't in Russia. Or, I'm sorry, in China. This is not. This is happening. We need to wake up. We need to get in the arena. And I can't tell you how grievous this is. And, you can look at martial arts as an offensive thing that you're going to use to cause bodily harm. But sure. But it's more importantly, I don't look at it that way. I look at it as a workout. If you want to take Krav Maga, if you want to take karate, Tai Chi, these different things, Taekwondo, whatever the case may be, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's exercise.
It's more than that.
I
don't mean that. I mean what we're talking about is more than that. I mean, think about this for a second. We are a free country. Free to do what we want, free to think what we want, okay? Now, we do have laws. We are a country of laws, and we have to obey those laws, right? But the problem is we cannot create laws that take our freedoms away because some people are bad. Well, some people are bad, and when those people are bad, they have to be taken care of. Part of being free is there is some risk involved in that. Someone can do something bad because of their freedoms, and we have to be able to take care of that. Another reason why we have to be able to train in martial arts or protect ourselves with a weapon, because there are bad people. Right. Don't take our freedoms away. That's not going to take the bad people away. And that's what they're saying here. If we continue to take freedoms away, we'll make it so that there's no bad people. No, it's just like you took the drugs away, right? So drugs are illegal, so there aren't any. I mean, what are we thinking? Like, who are these people? What are they thinking? I want to see the research. I want to see where they come up with this shit outside of just wanting to control us. I cannot put it to anything else other than don't tell me it's to protect us. No, it's not. You're doing just the opposite. Just like Hitler was protecting the Jews, right, Bill? I mean, that's what we're... Sorry, I'm getting really upset here.
No, that's good.
They're not protecting us.
That needs to be infectious.
They're threatening us. Period. End of story. When you take away our rights to defend ourselves from the bad people which are out there, this does not get rid of bad people. This is not a solution. This does not go towards the root problem at all. Not even close. These folks have no idea how to problem solve, obviously, because they're not trying to remove a problem. They're trying to control. They're trying to get power. That's all they're trying to do. And if they make us weaker, the good people, they become more powerful. All they are doing is unbalancing what our forefathers put in the Constitution to keep this balance. This is not a country by the government, period. This is a country by the people.
Of, for, and by the people.
And it is not okay for these government officials to make the government more powerful and more powerful and more powerful. That's all that's been happening for the last 50 years, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, and we need to do something about it. And I'm not talking violence. I'm talking get in the arena, open your mouth, vote the right people in, vote the wrong people out, hold them accountable.
Well, like, once again, we were talking about our representative. He is our representative. He's our employee. If he's doing things that we don't agree with, that's on us. And this is something that we continually say. It's on us. Like, we have the power. But the ultimate thing here that we need to realize is that, the Bible says the heart is deceitfully wicked among all things, right? So there's always going to be evil. There's always going to be people trying to inflict tyranny upon us. All evil needs to succeed is for good men to do nothing. The only thing that stops a bad man with a gun is a good man with a gun. Like, these are all cliches because they're true. The thing that is so egregious to me, I mean, it literally angers me, and I applaud your anger, and I hope that people get that, because it needs to be infectious and it needs to spread. The thing that we need to realize is that the idea or the notion, this can't happen in America, that we have to realize it is happening. We have that we're at that turning point, we're at that event horizon where we can say, no, I will practice whatever means of self-defense, be it with a firearm or be it using martial arts or whatever the case may be, because that is a natural law established by the Almighty.
That's my right.
Exactly. You are right to be angry. You are right to be fired up. And quite frankly, those sheeple, those that have no idea what's going on, we have to wake them up. That's our responsibility. And if now that they're hearing this, now that they're responsible and accountable for this information, what they do with it, especially if they live in Virginia, whatever they do with it is on them. You are listening to this, wake up.
We can't sit here and say someone else will take care of it.
That's what's happening. We are that.
That's what's been happening over a period of time. That's what we've been able to do, is put it off on someone else. And it's someone else's fault when something goes bad. Well, guess what? This is going to impact you. That's where we're getting. If we don't make the change, if we don't hold people accountable, if we don't open our mouths and get in the arena,
Right.
it's going to be too late.
Well, what I'm really afraid of is two things in regards to the Senate Bill 64 is A, if this passes, what other states are going to try to adopt this? B, if this passes and if this catches, though I honestly, dude, and I'm not promoting this, the idea of things going kinetic, things going from
Scary.
yeah, it's damn scary because we find ourselves in a real position. Historical precedents tells us that when these kind of tyrannical forces are rising up against a free people or the remaining remnant of free people, the potential for bad things, dangerous things to happen is real. And I'm wondering if we're on that precipice. I'm wondering if we're knocking on that door.
I hear you. Let's continue moving on here.
All right,
let's get this down to a city level.
All right, it's the city level. So let me try to do this one here. It says Wisconsin, and this is from the, where did we get this from? It's from the New York Post.
New York Times Post.
Thank you, New York Times Post. Thank you. Wisconsin town. I can't even read this.
It's a joke, man.
I'm
like,
not.
This one's kind of laughable,
but it's not.
But it's scary as hell.
It's scary. It's just as scary as the other one.
It's laughable because it's unbelievable.
Exactly.
It's like this reminds me of like literally Frosty the Snowman. Watch that movie.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
No, this reminds me of something like you would send me, like, dude, check out this, and it's like. I read this article and it's like from The Onion or like the Babylon Bee or something.
Yep.
I mean, seriously. So it says, Wisconsin town has outlawed throwing snowballs. And once again, I'm going to put the link in the description. It says, a Wisconsin city has made it illegal to throw snowballs, ranking them alongside rocks and arrows as outlawed weapons.
Now, you know what's crazy? Is
arrows!
A lot of times when you see these laws like this, they're from like the 1800s or something, right? It's some crazy law, like actually my daughter, I was talking to her about this.
Some grandfathered law.
She goes, Dad, did you know, and I can't remember where it was at, but it's illegal to put, I'm trying to remember what it was, chocolate or, it was illegal to put something in your back pocket. And the reason, she told me, do you know why? I said, no, because that sounds pretty crazy. She goes, because they thought that horse thieves, that's how they would steal a horse. They would kind of unrope the horse, put that in their back pocket, and they would walk, and the horse would follow them, wanting that. And then that way they can act like they weren't trying to steal it. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense. Going back to 1800s and horses.
Yeah, 150
right?
years ago.
So a lot of times when you read these kind of crazy laws, you look back and they were put on the books years and years ago and they were just never taken off.
Right.
This is a new law, folks. This isn't an old law that was put on the books 100 years ago for something stupid. This is something that just happened.
Yeah, so it says a Wisconsin city has made it illegal to throw snowballs, ranking them alongside rocks and arrows. My God. It's just...
Rocks, arrows, and snowballs. Dangerous as hell.
I know. It says no person shall throw or shoot any object, arrow, stone, snowball, or other missile or projectile by hand or by any other means that may harm persons. The municipal code in Wausau, I hope I pronounced that right.
You did.
Wausau rules. It's comedy. The ordinance under the section of quote unquote weapons also says snowballs cannot be thrown in quotes at, in, or near any building, street, sidewalk, alley, highway, park, playground, or other public place within the city. Oh my God almighty. It's really for the interest of public safety, Wausau Mayor Robert B. Melk told WCCO. Of the ruling, the actually produced a few years ago, a lot of it just is consideration and common sense. You don't throw stuff at people, period.
Think about that.
My God.
Think about that for a second. So does this law, it's common sense not to throw snowball at people. So let's just make a law you can't do it. And if you do, you're breaking the law and you can be fined or whatever the law statute is. But Bill, hold on.
Any building, street, sidewalk, alley, highway, park, playground, or other public...
Period. You can't throw a snowball. So what we're saying here, Bill, is this. This is what the next law should be here where we're at in Cleveland, Ohio. In the fall, a lot of leaves fall from the tree. It's just common sense that you don't blow your leaves into other people's yards. So I think that we should put a law in the books that says it is illegal to blow your leaves into anyone else's yard, into the street, into public land of any sort.
Well,
it should be against the law. Like, we should have a law for that.
We need to take it one step further. If your neighbor's tree has leaves and those leaves fall in my yard, my neighbor should come and pick them up. It is not my risk. I am a victim of leaf assault.
Yeah, because now you're going to have to clean those leaves up.
I feel victimized.
As a matter of fact, we should have to probably paint each leaf as it blooms on a tree. So as it falls off, right, each neighbor gets their own color. Kind of like I was just in Ireland, and the sheep, there's blue paint on the sheep's wool, so they know that person owns all those sheep, and this one's red. We paint all the leaves, so as it falls in another person's yard, they can identify whose leaves. I know we're getting out of hand. It's just I'm so embarrassed. I'm embarrassed for our country. Listen, are you kidding me?
That guy, Robert Melky, he compared a snowball to an arrow, like from a bow,
a missile,
or a
projectile.
Right. It's like a scud missile.
Are people putting chemical weapons inside of snowballs now? Unbelievable.
Oh my God.
What the hell is going on?
Right. So once again, folks, please listen. I don't think we mean to be insultive, or maybe we are. Maybe sometimes people can't be woken up unless you poke the bear. But this is happening. This isn't in some faraway dictatorship that during the Cold War. This is America 2019, 2020.
You can't throw snowballs, Bill. Does that mean you can't laugh? I mean, literally, it's like the movie Frosty the Snowman. That's what this reminds me of. No having fun. Don't throw snowballs.
Well,
I have 5 kids. I tell them to go outside and have snowball fights. As a matter of fact, me and my neighbors all have snowball fights with our kids when it snows. We think it's freaking hilarious and fun. And then we have hot cocoa.
Listen, if you were in Wausau, Wisconsin, I would say if it snows, that you get as many people together as you can, stand in front of City Hall and pelt that building with the snows. They can't arrest you all. They can't ticket you all. And this is, once again, using our First Amendment rights. Like that guy said, it's common sense. You don't throw things at people. My God.
It's common sense. You don't make laws like that.
Unless you're an authoritarian. Unless you
control power. That's it.
Exactly. And the way this stops, the way to make these things cease is to use your voice, be civil, and say, I do not agree with this. I know there are others that do not agree with this. We as a collective are going to voice our grievances under, once again, the First Amendment is more than just free speech and freedom of religion. You have the constitutional right to petition your government, whether it be local, whether it be state, whether it be national, for change. You have that constitutional right. Yes, get in the arena. And
don't let this continue to go on.
I hope people hearing this are pissed off. I hope people are saying, this can't be. It is. I'm telling you.
Just look at what's going on in your town. See if there's anything crazy. Our town just passed the... Go ahead, Bill. This is important to you, I know. Very important to you.
Well, absolutely. We talked about this episode 8 or 9. We talked about technology. There was a bill that recently passed in a local city we live in called Painesville, and they had a bill to help support the police. And what written within that bill, very subversively, is the fact that they will now have surveillance cameras plastered all over the municipality of Painesville. So literally every square inch of the city is going to be covered in surveillance cameras. Now, personally, for me, I have an issue with that. Not because I'm doing anything wrong, not because I plan on perpetrating or breaking any sort of law, but because I value my privacy. I value my freedom. It's no one's business what time or day I want to go out and take a walk, or if I want to go down and get a pop from the local convenience store, or whatever. And I really believe the infringement upon not just my personal privacy, your personal privacy, your kids' personal privacy, business's personal privacy outweighs whatever potential crime or whatever potential law or whatever could be broken. It's a minority report type of situation. I'm going to think it. Well, you're guilty even before you do it. Once again, if we don't step up and
we're not going to remove bad people by putting cameras out there.
No, they're just going to become more clever.
That's what happens. We have to really think through, because all these things, this is what all these laws we're talking about, all these infringements upon our freedoms and upon our rights, they're all sold by the government, local, state, national. They're all sold as protecting us. And the reality is, let's really look at this, folks. Let's quit passing bandaid laws that really don't protect us. Right. All they do is infringe upon our rights. And let's try to problem solve and get down to a root problem of what the issue is, instead of continuing to take away abiding citizens, innocent folks' rights and freedoms.
Well, the two things for me is the old saying, people will give away all their freedom for an ounce of protection. That's why we have the ability to defend ourselves. That's why you can learn a martial art, a skill like that. That's why you can learn to properly be trained in some kind of a self-defense weapon. But also it reminds me of that scene in Star Wars Episode 3 where, the Galactic Empire votes to give control over to Emperor Palpatine, who eventually became, the ultimate Sith Lord. And, there's two senators who vehemently opposed this. And as the bill passed and the collective power of the Senate, which represented the people, passed to one sole person, everyone's erupting in applause. And these two main characters, they say, "This is how liberty dies, with thunderous applause." I want that scene, if you recall it, to really sink in, because that's the case. That's how liberty dies. Liberty dies by us not standing up. Liberty dies by saying, no, that can't happen here.
And
no, that won't happen. No, they won't.
Bill, you're talking about a movie, which is great. It's given some context. But we can look at history, folks, real world history, where this has happened over and over and over again.
Well, I'll tell you in America where it happened. Right after the Civil War was an era called Reconstruction. That's when, the Democratic Party, who was controlling the South, lost. Now, the Republicans, what they wanted to do was, they freed the slaves and they promised all of them 40 acres and a mule. In that, they were now allowed to own things. And one of the things that they valued were weapons. So they could not only protect themselves, but they could hunt, they could take care of it. It was a utilitarian weapon or a utilitarian tool in the fact that they could use it for multi-purposes. Now, the Democratic Party created the Ku Klux Klan. This is a historical fact. I'm not making anything up here. The Ku Klux Klan, through the control of the Democratic Party, attempted to take the rights, legislatively to take the rights of freed slaves to own weapons to protect themselves. Because, if you have a gaggle of cowards in sheets come to a free man and say, we're going to lynch you, we're going to burn your house, or we're going to, rape your wife and your daughters or whatever, the tide very quickly and very easily turns if you have a means to say, no, you won't.
There you go. Folks, the history is there. Powerful people want to remain powerful, and how they remain powerful and gain more power is by taking your freedoms and your rights away. Mm-hmm. Period. End of story. We have to stop this from happening. It's getting out of control very quickly.
Jason brings up a great point. History is cyclical. It does nothing but repeat itself. If we don't stop now, my fear is we cannot get the shit back in the horse. If this Senate bill passes, and honestly, when this episode comes out, it'll come out like a day or two before they vote, or it will come out after. If that Senate Bill 64 in Virginia passes, I am very fearful what's going to happen in this country. I say that with no delight. I really mean that. I am very afraid of what's going to happen in this country.
All right, Bill, what do you think?
I think get in the arena.
Get in the arena. That's all we can ask.
Get in the arena. Fight tyranny. It's not easy to speak truth to power. But you know what? Do it.
All right, folks, get in the arena. Email us.
FlawedIncCLE@gmail.com. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Parler, Gab. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, any place where you listen to podcasts. We appreciate you sharing. You have a comment, hit us up. Thank you for those who have. Also, if you want to be on the show, if you have an idea, email us, flawedinccle.com. Send us a message on one of the social media pages. And you know what? If we select your idea, we will bring you on, and you will be a guest on the show with us.
Yes, and we do pay for that, right? Didn't we say?
Was it $half a mil?
$half a mil.
$half a mil.
$half a mil for that.
And I make you a cup of coffee.
And a cup of coffee.
$half a mil and a cup of coffee. All right. Listen, love you guys. Deuces.
Get in the arena.